Hello and welcome back to a new episode of the 6 a.m. Club where we start our day inspired. I hope you have your coffee ready and you are ready to dive into another inspiring quote this week. And the quote says, "Making a big life change can be scary, but living with regret is always scarier." I don't know about you, but this quote is something I live by and helps me make a lot of big decisions in my life. We all know that change can be intimidating. It often involves leaving our comfort zones and facing the unknown. But guess what? It's in those moments of change where we grow, where we learn, and where we truly live our lives. In today's episode, we're going to be discussing how to embrace change, how to conquer our fears, and how to ensure that our journey forward is filled with excitement and not with regret. So let's talk about what are some of those barriers, right? We often hesitate to make changes because of different reasons. And the first one, I think, is because we're afraid of what's on the other side. But let me tell you, there is magic in the unknown. It's where we discover new possibilities and where we can find our hidden potential. Staying in our comfort zone might feel sometimes cozy, but it really is a recipe for a life half lived. Don't let the illusion of comfort hold you back from living your dreams. One thing to remember is that fear of failure is just a mental construct, right? Failure is a stepping stone towards success. So embracing it as part of our journey is key if we eventually want to feel successful. A lot of times we are just looking at that next step, that short term, and it feels scary because what we see is a potential failure. But you never know how that failure is just propelling to reach success. Sometimes also we resist change because of external pressure or expectations. And I think in those situations, it's essential to remind ourselves that our lives are our own. You are the author of your story. And a lot of times, people who have opinions about the decisions that you're making, they have their opinions based on their own construct, based on their own perception of life, based on where they are in life, that it's completely different to where you are in life or what you value in life. If you don't believe in yourself, it's very difficult to expect others to believe in you. I mean, how can you expect others to believe in you if you don't believe in you? Lack of self-belief is another barrier that holds us back from making those big changes. That's why I believe in cultivating self-belief and to cultivating trust in our intuition. You have more power than you know. Do you know that? Maybe you don't, because I think a lot of times we just don't know how powerful we are, how capable we are of making hard decisions and hard choices. That's why in the recent episodes of the podcast, I've been talking about this topic of intuition. You're never going to have all the facts, all the information to make those big decisions. Sometimes you need to supplement what you know with your intuition. Another barrier for making these big decisions is regrets from the past that haunt us, making us hesitant of making new choices. And for me, when this comes up, what I keep telling myself is the past is giving me an opportunity to learn. Learn from the past. Don't let it define your future. You get to write your future. Another barrier is the comfort of mediocrity. Sometimes the daily routine can be comforting, even if it's mediocre. But I want to remind you that you're capable of extraordinary things. Never settle for a life of mediocrity. You are destined to live an extraordinary life. And that extraordinary life looks very uniquely to you. So ask yourself, what would extraordinary life look like for you? Because it's not what you see in Pinterest or on Instagram. That is not it. It has to be something very personal. And whatever you imagine, whatever you dream of, you're capable of creating if you don't settle for mediocrity. Another thing that can get on our way of making these big decisions is the fear of judgment. The fear of being judged by others can sometimes be paralyzing. Keep in mind that people's opinion don't define your worth. Their judgment is more about them than it is about you. So when you feel intimidated, when you feel paralyzed by people judging you, just remind yourself that their judgment is not about you. It's about them. Because they're mirroring themselves in you. And their judgment comes from their internal beliefs. It's a reflection of them, not of you. A couple more barriers that I think get in our way of making these big decisions. One is external influences, right? We're very often influenced by external factors, whether it is the society norms, peer pressure, or social media. I think social media is a big one these days. We're always comparing ourselves with social media, and that becomes kind of this societal pressure and kind of influence on ourselves. And I think when you feel that way, there's two things that I always try to do, not always successfully, but I try and I think they do work. One is remind myself of what my values and my priorities are and stand strong for what truly matters to me. And the second one, which is much more tactical, is anytime that there is an account in social media that makes me feel that pressure, I unfollow, I mute, I stay away from those things coming to my feed. I delete them from my feed. I don't need more of those negative influences in my life. The last thing that can get on your way, that can be a barrier to making these decisions, is procrastination. Procrastination is a sneaky little barrier. Don't let it steal your time, because that's what procrastination does. It just steals your time. Act now, because that's where change begins. Now, and by you taking action. Here you are. We just broke down the 10 barriers that can stand in the way of embracing change. But the most important thing that this quote was telling us at the beginning, right? Remember the quote? Making a big life change can be scary, but living with regret is always scarier. I always, when I'm in front of a big, important decision, I like to ask myself, 5 years from now, would I regret not having made this decision? And that leads me to lean into the decision that seems scary, even when any or all of these barriers that we talked about gets on the way or holds me back from making that decision? That is such a powerful question to ask yourself. Remember, making a big life change can be scary, but living with regret is always scarier. So let's choose courage. Let's choose growth. Let's choose a life filled with remarkable experiences. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll catch you bright and early next week for another dose of inspiration here on the 6 a.m. Club. Talk to you soon.